welcome to this special coffee with yours truly, Dragon event. We're gonna rock and roll over time. Every time as we always do, we're gonna start comments begin with the gratitude. Today it is the 7th of April, and I gotta rock and roll my gratitude. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee for this 24 hours until the great North American eclipse, the great North American eclipse, and I'm ready for a great changes. And as I am cleaning, purifying, reordering my room off St. Temple here, gonna start tomorrow morning, and I got this cup of coffee. So once again, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I gotta salute the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. The nurses. We love our nurses, love our firefighters, love our butchers, love our bakers, love our cooks, love our truckers, love our carpenters, love our electricians. We love our plumbers of the collective North American civilization, the people's artist, an athlete, philosopher who's not perfect, far from it. Grateful, thankful. Food security starts with the farmer. Construction worker starts with the construction, and housing starts with our construction workers on those steel toe boots going up and down those cranes. I'm a fan. I salute yours truly, poet, independent Aspie artist with amnesia, rah rah rah, retrograde amnesia, and right here in this room, office and temple, underground on this Sunday, 7th of April. Gotta say gratitude for the donation. Somebody donated a cocoa. Although I checked and it's the best before date, April 14th, 2023. See, the best before date is April 2023, 14th of April. So almost a year, best before, but it's still good about a year to even 2 years, even maybe 3 years, depending on whatever jar it is and the conservation method. So as I keep it in a cool place, whatever. See, it, of course, it's not the expiry date, it's the best before date. So I got this donation, and I got to mention that it's skyrocketing cocoa prices, but I'm grateful, thankful I got this cocoa, which I'm going to put in the coffee. And also, in parallel to high record breaking cocoa prices, there's also record breaking not only cocoa prices, but there's record breaking coffee prices, from what I hear. Maybe not record breaking coffee, but for sure record breaking cocoa prices. So I'm going to put a little bit of scoop in my coffee and just a little bit to stir up, and I'm going to make my own dessert after. So I only don't show the label, but now I did buy a little bit by mistake, as I don't get any private sponsorships at the moment, although I'm open for business. I gotta say my gratitude again, as we're gonna go on a rock and roll. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid my rent for the month of April, paid my electricity bill, got food and coffee, and encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and shall continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice, as I lost 77 pounds. And of course, a few years ago, started my fitness journey when I was depressed and suicidal. 6 years and 6 months ago, been in 2017, an event which changed the course of my life. And of course, after moving here to a better place where I used to live, where there's lots of mold, very moldy mold, in a place in Côte des Neiges, and even deeper underground. So I moved to a better place and started working out. Although I was depressed and suicidal when I crossed Canada coast to coast, that event made me come out of being depressed and suicidal. And I said so many things to live for, so many things to do here in Canada, across the collective North American civilizational complex, and to do, to explore, so many cities to see, so much things to do, write rock and roll songs, poetry, and children's books. And of course, started working out, training, and exercising, and have not stopped ever since. And of course, I'm on the workout, training, exercising on the daily almost. Well, you gotta rest sometimes. So I'm gonna take this cup of coffee, and we're gonna rock and roll, discuss the psychological, social, and more mystical approach to the event, which is gonna unfold tomorrow across the collective North American civilization, across North America. Of course, when I say collective North American civilizational complex, or the collective North American civilization, is myself as a philosopher, as an independent artist and theorist, and of course, writes in a rock and roll manner, and explores dimensions and analyzes the dimensional factors of North America from a civilizational perspective. Meaning that, of course, as a philosopher, I proposed, and I am convinced that my theory is correct, that we North Americans, myself included as a North American Canadian, we constitute a collective North American civilizational complex. And of course, we are right here on the go, and it is 4:48 p.m. in the EST. Beautiful sunny day, got a little bit of sun, so gonna just hydrate with a little bit of coffee before we go rock and roll on this session. It's already flavored, but I got a little bit of cocoa in it, so it's very good. But I gotta say, grateful, thankful. I got coffee, I got food, gonna have dinner leftovers. I got a little bit of of a pork chop. I got some pork chops yesterday. It was on special, so I got a few pork chops which I cooked. So I'm gonna make myself a pork chop, maybe some marine sandwiches with that pork chop. And got some leftover mayo, and I got some leftover salad, and I got this cup of coffee here. Internet connection. I'd be grateful for the internet connection. For the internet connection, you know, if I being open for business as an independent artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist who's got that geopolitical analysis 24/7 rock and roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food, and saluting our firefighters across the collective North American civilizational complex across North America. And this eclipse is, of course, a major, major event in that it is inclusive of all of North America. So Mexico, Canada, and US. So it's gonna be the only one, the only one, sole and unique in the 21st century. There's not gonna be any eclipse like this one in the 21st century. Is gonna be the only eclipse which is gonna include North America. And you know, for years and years and years, I've been saying I'm a North American, Canadian, and Quebecer, and of course, I've lived many past lives, many incarnations, and of course, my theories as a philosopher, I am fundamentally a North American, although I am, of course, I can be and try to be a world citizen and universal. I open my mind, heart to universal affairs and universal matters, but fundamentally, I am a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, and my propositions, when, of course, when I say and call all to the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, my dream, my dream, my dream, which manifests as the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilization and beyond, but fundamentally, of course, across North America, and fundamentally my theories and propositions for two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions to be formed for the 21st century for the collective North American civilizational complex for North America. And right here in this underground room off Sun Temple here from Montreal, Hawk Island, big metropolis island, 2.5 million people, many are going to be going to experience the great North American solar eclipse. So it's going to be a unique event in the history, and I see it as a good omen, you know, part of my journey. Again, I encourage all to work out, train, exercise. I cannot stress the importance of regular fitness and regular physical exercise, and have been and will continue to call for the mass financing of citizens across the collective North American civilizational complex to be financed, to work out, to train, and to exercise. So I'm calling for a public-private partnership based on my philosophies. And of course, I created my own workout training program system back in 2019, officially, and with a long title called General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragan Army workout, which of course have done, proposed, and have been completed more than 372 sessions of my own created workout training program system, which of course requires no equipment, which is easy and effective and simple to do. Well, simple in the matter that it requires no equipment, but it increases overall general fitness. So my workout training program system was designed with one sole purpose: to be simple, effective, and efficient, and that to require no equipment and to increase general overall fitness. So if you don't know what I'm referring to and you made it this far into the video, back in 2019, in October, I had done a geopolitical analysis, right? So I already have started my fitness journey, but of course I am an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. I'm an Aspie, got that Asperger, so I might repeat things twice, three times, and might have gestures with the hand or pass the cup to the left or the right, but those are the symptoms of Asperger's. And of course I'm an Aspie, and I'm part of a minority in having Asperger's, where less than 1 out of 300, less than 1 out of 300, not even 1 out of 300 has my Asperger's. And of course there's no medication for Asperger's, it's just knowing the symptoms. And my symptoms are that I'm very intense and focused, as all Aspies are, when it deals with the matters of which we are super focused and super obsessed about. So Aspies, people with Asperger's like myself, have obsessions, key interests, where we're so obsessed about those interests that when we are involved in the study, the analysis, the meditation on those interests, we're very focused. And my main interest as an Aspie are geopolitics, or the study, the analysis of geopolitics. Of course, sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. And of course, dancing and fitness and sports in general, hockey, basketball, and of course football, North American gridiron, and other boxing and the like, and of course the study of civilizations with of course public hygiene. I also carry open my disinfectant and disinfect for bacteria, for microbes, for germs whenever I'm out in the public, to the point of a little bit being obsessed about it. But when I work out, you see the intensity, because we can be very intense when we deal with those issues, and that's part of Asperger's. Is if you're an Aspie, you know what I mean. And of course, there's no medication for Asperger's. There's no medication for Asperger's. There's no medication for Asperger's. Is you learn to deal with your symptoms, such as not approaching, getting too close to other fellow citizens when conversing and having a dialogue and communicating and engaging in conversation, not to approach them too closely, to keep a distance, because Aspies we tend to breach that, and of course not to repeat things twice, three times, and sometimes we tend to be clumsy, except when we are involved in the activities of which we are obsessed about, which mine are geopolitics, and I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist and philosopher, and of course I analyze geopolitics 24/7, and of course the study of civilizations, civilizational studies. So the studies of civilizations, and of course you could say a little bit of a more mystic spiritual dimension to civilizational studies, and being a philosopher and a theorist who's not perfect, far from it, but who's got some issues, some vices, who wishes could afford a massage therapy session, and broke, struggling financially, stressed, but am rich, affluent, super rich in rock and roll kisses. Kisses I got by the trillions, and by those trillions, a trillion is 1,000 billion, a billion is 1,000 million. By those kisses, I lay fundamentally the foundation for my public-private partnership dream, which is manifesting as the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, vice versa. The dragon empire and the dancing goddess kingdom. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom are one, just like the moon and the sun. Tomorrow will be form a unity, a cohesion in that great, more mystical, spiritual, and psychological approach, which will of course have the dimensions, the sun and the moon in us, and we hope to heal and move forward. And I've been depressed and suicidal, and what I said, that event in my life when I crossed Canada coast to coast, I said so many things to do, so many things to do here in North America, my country, Canada, Quebec, so many things to see, to write children's books, which I did, but due to financial constraints I wasn't able to publish. But I'm writing on the daily, on the weekly, on the basis, with themes such as nature and civilization. So I live carpe diem to the fullest for today, ever since I died of COVID in February, March 2020. Almost, it's been 4 years, 4 years, 4 years already. So since then, I say I died during COVID because I had it, and it was like pestilence, death, and disease, death, pestilence, and disease, pestilence, death, and disease. And of course, I survived, and I'm being stronger every day. And of course, I get that strength and from seeing other people's joy, and especially the youth. And when I see people, when I went out a little bit for taking some sun, I saw couples holding hands. So I said, "You're doing good." It gives me hope, because otherwise, what are we putting on the uniform to get that national defense and to fight? Go NATO West Side, throw that NATO rock and roll for NATO 24/7 for our butchers, our bakers, our firefighters, our nurses, our doctors, our daycare workers. We love our farmers, love our butchers, love our bakers, love our nurses, love our doctors. We love LOV. Sometimes it's not all about the money. Money is to buy, sell, conduct trade affairs, and build and construct. Finance can be a little bit simplified and broken down into those major activities which enable us to do so. That's why I believe in my theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, as the ultimate and kind of the only solution for financially where we are now with the public finances. I firmly believe in it. That's why I'm calling on my astrological brother Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and of course all private and public institutions, all the public and the private institutions to help support it. The public and the private institutions to help support it. The public and the private institutions to help support it. The DRT stands for debt refusion theory. So tomorrow, the eclipse, I find it as a good omen, a good omen. Like myself, taking myself, and many are struggling now, like myself, financially. But I gotta say, gratitude. It's like carpe diem every day, and open for business 24/7, and mainly in my things, which as an artist, independent athlete, the people's artist. Ride that rock and roll for the butchers, bakers, farmers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks 24/7, then do those push-ups and those marches and that dancing for the farmers, firefighters, nurses, carpenters, electricians, train conductors, butchers, bakers, and public works, public workers, and never forget the public workers building up the aqueducts, changing, putting the potholes, and of course in the past who build the bridges. And I gotta say, those who gonna take Monday to Friday, I got 3 services in my neighborhood. Got to salute those who pick up the garbage every week, those who pick up the compost every week, and those who pick up the recycling every week. Those who pick up the recycling, thank you, thank you, thank you. Those who pick up the compost, thank you, thank you, thank you. And those who pick up the garbage, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we gotta get drilled, and I've been down and low, and of course depressed, suicidal, and depression. If you gotta experience it, you're low and you're suicidal, and why it was a hard battle which I conquered being depressed and suicidal. I conquered being depressed and suicidal. I conquered being depressed and suicidal. And I said, well, I take account with everything is in the open about who I am, psychologically and sexually and in all manners, being Rainbow Dragon, philosopher, artist, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, being my Rainbow Dragon, geopolitical analyst, theorist, and philosopher, centrist, pro labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist, because my centrism goes hand in hand with my philosophies and my theories for the 21st century for a public-private partnership, and I am pro-labor and love, and I had employments, but Aspies, people with Asperger's, we have that encounter struggles to maintain employment and maintain employment and maintain employment and have employed for long periods of time, except when we break through our niche or whatever we are super strong in, because I recognize that in some certain things I'm myself mediocre, in certain things I'm myself average, in certain things I'm myself so while being so mediocre and average at some things, I'm great, super, and excellent in some other things. So while I'm super excellent in some other things and very good, I'm also balanced by being mediocre, average, and so at others. When I see those construction workers on the cranes, I salute. I say, look at those, man. I'm a piece of dust. I say, wow, 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 gotta salute. Farmers, I gotta salute the butchers, the cooks, the nurses, the bakers, those in the fast food making a hamburger, a cheeseburgers. I rock and roll, rap for them 24/7. The firefighters on the road, the ambulances, the nurses, the doctors, all those in the daycares, the senior citizen homes, and we got to get that public-private partnership and call it a heart. If you're a millionaire, billionaire, just finance. Use that money to finance charity or people to do activity, artist, athlete, and of course, calling for all to support the dream across North America to mass finance citizens for physical activity, to work out, to train, to exercise. Let's go National Football League, NFL, National Hockey League, NHL, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Let's go get that financing, public-private partnership. Finance people to do push-ups, to do my workout training program, which I've created back in October 2019. The General War Integrated Total Body Training System, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, which I've created back, of course, in October 2019. Back in October 2019, I've analyzed the geopolitical situation and deep analysis of all the geopolitical events which have up to that moment in time, October 7th or so, October 7th, 2019, I started. It was a 2 3 weeks of analysis, and I've concluded at the end of my analysis, unfortunately, that humanity is again on a path set towards a concourse, towards going towards an international conflagration, in other words, a World War III. That was my conclusion back in October 2019. I got proof of work because I got hundreds of videos on YouTube as a YouTuber. I get one view, so I'm grateful when I get one like. I don't do it for the likes or for the views. I do it for myself, for others, being open for business, and all my allies and armies pledge your allegiance, thou art family, and support a dream, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. And of course, I'm doing live now on Facebook, and of course, it's business, friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only. I'm open for business, and that's it. That's all rock and roll. And I lost a lot of friends being an Asperger's. Made lots of friends in the past 7 years. I lost 93%. It's hard being an Aspie, I know, but I guess Aspies of the world unite. We're a minority, 1 out of 300. Not even like less than 1%. So less than 0.44%. So less than half of 1% have Asperger's. Less than of half. So less than, so 1 out of 300 maybe, maybe not has Asperger's. So, but when we're focused on those things like geopolitics, I am strong, super, and excellent. I can do an in-depth analysis, but I keep it from a dancing goddess and dragon kingdom perspective. All my allies and armies are pledge your legions, legions thou art family, and from a North American perspective, and yes, I can give myself opinions, but I'm from a North American perspective and can be pretty neutral on many topics. As much as I am a world peace advocate, I am a world peace advocate, I am a world peace advocate. And paradoxically, who has predicted the situation, the geopolitical situation conflagration, which we are seeing now at the moment. We're seeing now at the moment what's I predicted, not exactly event by event and paradigm by paradigm and even and session by session, or of course action by action, but in a general way. I predicted the situation which is unfolding now back in 2019, not necessarily as a prophecy or as a prophet, but based perhaps and for sure on the curse of Asperger's. But see, the curse of Asperger's has some blessings that I studied and analyzed and learned books and civilizational studies and philosophies and geopolitics. And of course, I was able to predict and in parallel create a workout training program system based on that. And of course, to be of course mindful that also one of my obsessions is the study of civilizations, and due to that being the fact that in civilization and I specialize in ancient Egypt, you can read of course in the book of Genesis, you find there in the Bible where the major events of course happened in ancient Egypt, and there's a lot of mysteries. I studied the Bible, and there's a lot of things in the Bible that are mysterious. You take Jacob, who becomes Israel right after that night struggle. Jacob becomes Israel. The 12 tribes becomes Israel. And this was 3,500 years ago. This 3,000 more than 3,500 years was 3,000. So from what we know, more than 305,000 years ago. But you read there that there's some passage there very mysterious. Genesis chapter 50, right? So you read that, you're like, how come Israel says that he was embalmed, and it's actually written in detail the ancient Egyptian rich funerary rituals which were accorded only to the high nobility and the high priest and the pharaohs and the high nobility. So that's a mystery. Kind of wonder like what's going on here. Sometimes the answers are right in our front and there, and there's a lot of mistranslation and lost in translation. And I'm a mystic. I'm a Telemite, wannabe Telemite. I believe in reincarnation. I don't know it all, but back to what I was saying is, of course, that my main areas of study is in civilizations in ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria, Babylon, the Sumerians, and of course, the ancient Romans. But of course, in that civilizations includes public finance. So that curse of Asperger's, maybe that I studied a little bit of public finance. So now we pay more interest than we ever paid in our public finances. So it's reached 46.5 in this year budget 2023-2024. It more than doubled compared to 2020-2021. We paid 20.3 billion. A billion is 1,000,000,000, so we paid 20.3 billion. A billion is 1,000,000,000, and of course we got 46.5 billion, because double would have been 20.3, would have been 40.6. Now we're gonna pay 46.5 billion. Interest, just debt servicing. In other words, debt servicing, paying the interest. I myself paid the most ever interest on my debt for the Royal Bank of Canada, that RBC, that line, RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, the most I ever paid in the past 7 years, due to the hikes, due to the COVID and whatever situation. But nonetheless, see, I studied and I can propose, and I know that my theory, that DRT is the only solution, stands for debt refusion theory, which I've discussed for many months and years now already. It's been many months intensely in the past months, because I believe that's the only solution, the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of what I call the universal exchange across the collective North American civilizational complex across North America. North Americans unite is the rock and roll song 24/7. So we got to get that drill, and we got to be of course on the mindful that of course myself am mediocre, average, and so at some other things, especially when I see those construction workers. I sing a song every time I see them on that cranes building and putting that steel, that metal, that concrete, taking measurements and building those buildings and building houses, such as this house was built, of course. And I call all to support the building of two parallel complementary covenant buildings. The house of the dragon, that's all I need. 3 rooms, austere, severe, simple. Sleeping quarters, kitchen, and of course bathroom with a bathtub. And the fourth could be a gym. That's all I would need. The books I can put in my sleeping quarters. Some books, Book of the Law first, Book of the Law first, Book of the Law first. Crowley's books first, I guess. Crowley's books first, Crowley's books first. And then all other books and writing children's books, which my own children's books, and which I'm gonna write in parallel to that. And of course, as an independent fitness captain and geopolitical analyst and theorist, and going on a meditation here about the great North American eclipse. And again, I stress the importance of regular physical exercise. Sometimes I am still moody, upset. I wish I could afford a massage therapy session, but you know what, millionaires, billionaires, please finance the firefighters, the nurses, and the farmers. Finance them a massage therapy sessions. They deserve it more than me. I would like to see on the radio more encouragement of people to work out, train, exercise, public hygiene, and some gratitude. Radio, television, some LOV for our farmers, for our construction workers, for our butchers, for our nurses. Send some LOV. I'm gonna take the opportune time to write rock and roll, do some rock and roll now, cause love. It's not all about the money. Money is to buy, sell, to buy, sell, to buy, sell. Sometimes we need that LOV, LOV, LOVE. You know, we're gonna say love our firefighters, butchers, love our bakers, love our nurses, love our train conductors, love our truckers. How many truckers now going Mexico, Canada, US? Butchers, nurses across North America, because we are 40 million in Canada, like 340 million, 44 million now in the US, and more than 100 million in Mexico. So together added up, we're more than 500 million. We're more than half a billion just Canada, US, Mexico. Plus North America includes the islands, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and the islands, right? That's the North American civilizational complex, of which we are part. Myself, yourself, and ourself. We are part of the, what I call as a philosopher, the North American civilizational complex, or the complex of North American civilization, or the North American civilizational complex. A complex in a meaning a integral unit formed of different common denominators or formed from different base units. A complex, COMPLEX, nothing to do with the psychological complex and the complex in the psychology, and of course fetishes or whatever we have, or which I have, you know, love my rainbow dragon ways, and love my rainbow loving, and love my BDSM switch. BDSM switch stands for bondage, domination, sadomasochism, with consent hygiene, obviously with consent hygiene, but nonetheless, no need to spy on me, secret services of Russia or secret services of China. And no need to spy on me. It's been open for years now, and you know, freedom has got to be secured and ensured. Liberty and freedom, these are new things. I can say for myself, I'm not yet able to fight in the cause of freedom. Not yet. I'm not there yet. Very few of us are. I know somebody, maybe one person that I really know. You know, freedom is, yeah, freedom is. I got it tattooed here on my left arm, but it's freedom is new. Freedom is new. Freedom is new. You know, it takes responsibilities, duties, obligations, just like civilization is a privilege. A privilege of civilization is a privilege. Civilization is a privilege. We got our own natures. My nature, you know, being intense, Aspies, and you know, XYZ. And yes, I do have aggression. I have aggression. I do have aggression. I have aggression, but my brothers and sisters, I channel it. I sublimate it. I channel it. I sublimate it. I channel. I sublimate. I do workout, train, exercise. I do push-ups. I go to the mountain. I work out. I do some more push-ups. I do squats. I do hawks. I take some rocks and I work out and I train and I exercise. Super important to channel the aggression that we have. No, no. If I'm to fight racism with my, it's 13.3% of the North American population, my brothers and sisters, North Americans unite, are black, right? 13.3, 13.4% out of the North American population are my black brothers and sisters. It's 13.3 or 13.4%. My neighbors are black, so we always, how am I going to fight racism is also by action, right? I offer what I offer everybody else first and foremost. Kisses, kisses, kisses. If you say no to kisses, because I got those the most, trillions, trillions, trillions of kisses created from the goddess, then I got some rock and roll, I got some hugs. I got some hugs, I got some tickles, I got some rock and roll. That's it, that's all. That's why we gotta need to channel the aggression. You know, look what's happening in the world. If we are to make it here in the new world, we make all these compromises. Here in North America, in Quebec, in Canada, we made what I call the great linguistic compromise, the great linguistic compromise, the great linguistic compromise, the great linguistic compromise with the French language. There's the tensions, there's tensions, yes. Make an effort, we make an effort, Listen to some Celine Dion. listen, watch Bulk Up, Back Up 1 and 2, and make the third one with the Dragon. I'm gonna star in it, sing some bilingual rock and roll in Bulk Up, Back Up 3. Sing some bilingual rock and roll, sing some bilingual rock and roll, blah 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 blah. We gotta make an effort. I speak some Spanish in my underground room office in Temple. I learned Spanish in the past 7 plus years, 7 plus years, 7 plus years. I just love Spanish, and I believe in reincarnation. So I believe that I was born in Mexico in the past lives and throughout Latin America, and even before 1492, even before 1490, before 1492, and after. I met in the past life Simon Bolivar, a major Latin American, South American political, social, cultural figure. I met him briefly in a past life. But anyways, today it is 2024, April 7th. April 7th today. I am $10,000, 500, 10,500 in debt, 10,500 in debt, 10,500 in debt. I'm financially struggling, stressed, but I'm also grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, got good food, and I got good coffee. Although this is has been donated, thank you for the donation. It's been best before April 14, 2023. It's still good. It's still good. I can still make myself some good dessert. I'm gonna use some crackers, some sugar, and some hot water. It's gonna cost me less than $3, or about $3 if I put two bags, 150 each. So less than $4. My own made dessert, less than 350. Three scoops of cocoa, some sugar, about 350 for my own made homemade dragon dessert. Three ingredients: cocoa, sugar, well, and crackers, plus hot water would be the fourth dimension. Fourth ingredient will be hot water. So it's 5:15 now here, and I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, and tomorrow is gonna be a great event. It's gonna be a great omen, an omen that can be good psychologically, mystically, spiritually, mystically, and of course from a social political perspective. Right, I see it as a good omen. So the great eclipse, what is an eclipse? Is when the moon will cover the sun for a few minutes, and it's going to be in North America integrated because it's throughout North America, right? So this event, perhaps spiritually, is the beginning of something new. So let it be something new for myself. I'm beginning anew in many ways. It's in the past years. I was depressed and suicidal 6 years and a half ago. In August, I went to Vancouver by bus with the greatest person I know, who deserves to be millionaire, billionaire 7 times. Got a love for you, Swifty. I'm a Swifty. I'm a Swifty for Taylor Swift, for Oprah, for Beyonce. But my anonymous friend deserves to be 7 times the number after six, the number after six, the number after six. Before I deserve to be 7 times richer than Oprah, Taylor Swift, and Beyonce. Maybe times three, times the three combined times seven. Anyways, give to charity for support the DGA, blah 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 blah. The Dancing Goddess Army, blah 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 blah. DGA, blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Dancing Goddess Army. So yours truly, it's important to work out, to train, and to exercise, and of course to be able to work out, train, exercise, and support the DGA. And my brothers and sisters, I stress enough the importance of regular physical exercise because it's done me wonders in the past years. Like I said, 6 years and a half ago, was depressed and suicidal, and of course got traveled, of course, all the way west, and of course west to Vancouver, British Columbia, and of course that event. I said, wow, so many things to see across Canada, cities to do, write rock and roll songs, poetry, and of course read children's books and bring joy to others. Because if I can bring joy, especially to the youth, to the children, that brings me some joy. I like when I see the youth happy and like fresh jumping up and down. It brings me joy. The youth, the children, and I love the children. I love the youth, and of course, if I can bring them some joy and encourage them for us here, for our youth. And I gotta say a little moment to my brother Citizen Bill Blair, Minister of National Defense, my brother Citizen blah 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 blah, Citizen Bill Blair, my brother blah 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 blah, my brother Citizen Bill Blair, and of course, if we are to put on the uniform, Canadian Armed Forces, salute, salute, salute. Go that NATO, throw that west side, rock and roll for the NATO, Canadian Armed Forces, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, 24/7. My brothers and sisters, if you are being a protocol Dragon Army style, soldiers gotta at least once before they enroll, whatever the case may be, get that uniform. You gotta go change some diapers or read some children's books because national defense gotta start with the daycares and the elderly. Gotta go change, do some good for the elderly. Read the children's books, change some diapers. If not changing the diapers, reading the children's books. Those who can do X, Y, Z, whatever the case may be, because national defense has to start with the daycares, from the daycares to the blah 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 blah. I know, blah blah blah. I know, blah blah. I know. Anyways, so my proverbial Blair protocol. Dragon armies. National defense starts in the daycare and ends with the elderly in the senior citizen homes and everywhere in between. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. If it doesn't start there, well, we gotta revise. We gotta revise. We gotta reform. We gotta reform. Blah 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 blah. I'm a piece of dust. I'm mediocre at some things. I'm average at some things. I'm so mediocre average, but I'm a philosopher. I could use a good hug, a good massage. I woke up a bit moody, feel XYZ. Wish I could get a massage therapy session, but you know what? Finance the firefighters, nurses, millionaires, finance the firefighters, nurses, finance them a massage therapy session, or the nurses, the firefighters, and the farmers. And then those are, super important to mention. And thinking about the truckers now on the road, salute nurses, butchers, bakers, those in the fast food making up some sandwich, some pizzas, thinking about them. Always immersed in my meditation, always immersed across North America. All the activities which are ongoing, which are many. Somebody's having fun now, good for you. Somebody's working out now, somebody's kissing now, that's double good, double plus. Somebody's holding hands now, that's plus, double good, that's very good. Somebody's hugging, that's double plus, that's very good. Hugging with consent, kissing with consent, holding hands, eating, and getting that public hygiene, getting that public hygiene. So the Great North American Eclipse. And before I got to wrap up, of course, what I was saying that, of course, back in 2017 in August, I went to Vancouver, British Columbia. I took the bus from Montreal to Vancouver, British Columbia. It took 3.5 days to get there, across Canada by bus. That was an event, major event in my life, and that was kind of when I started healing, getting out of being depressed and suicidal, and I started my fitness journey then. And then we came back after a few days. We went by bus, we came back by bus. So total bus ride was 7 days, 3.5 days to get there to Vancouver, Montreal to Vancouver, British Columbia, crossing Canada, then coming back, then going by, of course, the by the train, by the train. It took 25 minutes. Correction. 40, 25 hours and 44 minutes. So from Montreal to Halifax, by train, Montreal to Halifax by train, Montreal to Halifax by train. It took 25 hours and 44 minutes exactly. 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes exactly. 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes exactly. So more than a day by an hour and 44 minutes, because a day has 24 hours, right? So crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast made me come out of depression and being suicidal, and have been and will continue to call, of course, for the financing of citizens to work out, to train, and to exercise, to work out, to train, and to exercise, and if for to also to enter North American tourism, public-private partnership protocol. I have been for years during COVID. I did a lot of analysis and meditation. As I say that I died during COVID, and there's nothing that I want to go back to. I am triple vaccinated 3 times. That's it. That's all. But of course, I have been doing a lot of meditations and have proposed, of course, and I've been continuously thinking and writing theory about it. How can I have a North American integrated public-private partnership tourism to encourage citizens to travel Canada, U.S., Mexico, to have public-private partnership. It could be good for culture. It could be good for the economy. It could be good for the joy of the fellow citizens of North America. So there's this 5:23 p.m. here now, along with fresh ideas, also got to be implemented. It takes individual action and collective action, right? Because the individual has to be balanced with the collective. When I step outside of my dragon's lair, I'm no longer just private citizen, Dragan, I'm also a public citizen. I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations which I would not have if I would stay right here in my office room, office and temple. It would not be the same. When I step outside, I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations which under the normal circumstance of life would have not happened. Here, I have less. Although if I go online, I gotta do that public-private partnership because it is a public-private partnership, right? Civilization, step outside, I gotta secure my liberty and freedom and my work because I've done for years lots of work with my laptop on my vlogs, long vlogs, marching rock and roll vlogs and what have you. As a YouTuber, a work in progress YouTuber, but as an independent philosopher, independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, independent artist, independent athlete, independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, independent philosopher, and of course was not perfect, far from it, but who's grateful. Rent's paid my rent for the month of April, paid my electricity bill, got food and coffee. Having got food and coffee, got rent, and I'm gonna be able to make my own dessert. So gotta be mindful of that and mindful to see others' joy and meditating now on everything that's going on across. Gotta salute the Hydro Quebec workers of the past, building the dams. We gotta build more dams, more dams. We got clean zero pollution energy. I got the light above my head, heated the coffee, and take a bath, take a shower to substitute for a massage therapy session, and got this light on, this electricity which I'm utilizing, clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. So whenever I see that truck, Hydro Quebec, I always sing, meditate, rock and roll songs for the Hydro Quebec workers of Hydro Quebec, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Hydro Quebec. I'm a fan of construction workers. I'm a fan of butchers. I'm a fan of nurses. I'm a fan because I'm also a fan myself. Being a philosopher, an artist, I also have to be a fan. Fan of the others. Fan of the others because it takes individual and collective, right? The individual has to be balanced with the collective. There's civilization has its discontents, but civilization is a privilege. We gotta balance nature and civilization. How also by action I've been doing for years, volunteering at the, of course, at the mountain, and it takes volunteers to clean the mountain. I find every spring, every summer, every every spring mostly, summer mostly, and of course autumn. I find cans in the forest. I find garbage there. I find plastic. So I take it and I put it either in the recycling if it's recyclable. If not, I put it in the garbage. So I do my part. I do here my recycling. I can always do better. I remember a few years ago, right after I came back from being depressed and suicidal when I crossed Canada, I had a few weeks. I was in contract some business with, of course, with the compost program. So I do compost as well, and I know about composting. But of course, I was hoping to get more long term, and of course, it wasn't in that long term, of course, which it was. So right here on this 5:26 p.m., I gotta say my gratitude again, and got this cup of coffee. Maybe gonna get a second one. I'm gonna discuss a little bit about the Great North American Eclipse because I diverged a little bit. But again, I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, do some stretching, do some workout, train, exercise, and it's super good for you to work out, to train, and to exercise. So, the Great North American Eclipse, a great spiritual, mystic, psychological, that is, psychological and social cultural event which can gonna propel us in a transformation for the greater good and for the good of the individual as well. Hopefully, part of it will be my dream, the public-private partnership, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public and a private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex, across the North American civilizational complex, across the North American civilizational complex, across North America. So at this event, I'm gonna now give a more spiritual, mystic perspective, right? Because of course, you know that I am calling all to support the building of two buildings, the dragon, house of the dragon, the house of the dragon, the house of the dragon, the house of the dragon, and of course the dancing goddess, the dancing goddess, the forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess temple. So I believe, I say, as a mystic spiritual teacher, I say the word goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, and this is a symbol of the rebirth of the goddess for me. The rebirth, not just a sense, but it's an acknowledgement, of course, where of course, of the long route and long journey our sisters took, our better halves, our whatever it is. And myself, I am considered 50-50, half-half, androgynous. I consider myself, of course, androgynous. I do consider myself androgynous, and that's perhaps one of the more things that we need to integrate both feminine and masculine, and of course the sun and the moon representative of psychological forces and forces of nature, and perhaps how we can relate from a more spiritual, mystic, and even psychological dimension. You know that both will be more in a new burn of a new balance, a new harmony, a new order, if you will, a spiritual, psychological, hopefully political, financial order. Part of it being the public-private partnership, my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, what I'm calling all to support the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. And sometimes I'm a dreamer myself, but of course I do take that philosophy and that march and that action and do those push-ups and that rock and roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production and the distribution of food, and of course all involved in the production and the distribution of food. And of course I do say that rock and roll, of course, 24/7 for those who want it, and for those who get that XYZ to do the drill, and for those who do that XYZ who do the drill. So super important to acknowledge the fundamentals that change. Sometimes it's pain, myself included, but sometimes it propels us to a greater good and for the individual as well. So this omen is of course for me also transformation and a rebirth. Myself, because I said I died during COVID, but also of the collective North American civilizational complex. Because the moon and the sun, of course, the moon will block the sun's light, but also receive it, right? Because the moon receives also the light, but the moon is also as important as the sun in this one event, right? It doesn't have to be to the detriment one of the other. It can be not in conflict, not in conflict, but complementary, like complementarity. One will complement the other, right? Because it takes the irrational, it takes the material, it takes the energy of the sun intense energy, right? The sun always rises and always sets. There's always a sunrise and a sunset. There's always a sunrise and a sunset. So the energy of the sun, and the sun seemingly gets stronger and stronger and stronger, but also the moon has to be also equal in strength, right? Like you see the picture there, could be a symbol of maybe the priestess, the, the goddess of the moon, but also being illuminated and going exactly in proportion to the sun. Not being conflict, but receiving the sun, and being of course enlivened, and being its own individual capacity and its own energies, which are lunar and solar, which don't have to be in conflict, which gotta be complementary, right? Complementary. Just like the aggression has to be channeled and sublimated. Sexuality also, sexuality. Channeled and sublimated, channeled and sublimated. So this great psychological, spiritual, and mystic, and even social, cultural, political, if you will, because it all encompasses all, right? Because if we change from a spiritual perspective, if we change from a psychological perspective, it also has to be cultural, social, and political, right? Social, cultural, and political change. Public-private partnership best for the 21st century. We can't base everything on privatization, and we can't have the extreme or just public. It has to be a harmony, balance, and equilibrium between the two. And this has been the great struggle of the 20th century. Right? We got far left, far right, public, everything public, and then everything more private, right? So the 21st century is to reach a balance and harmony and equilibrium, not to repress the individual action and the will of the individual to the detriment of the collective, and vice versa. The collective not to repress the to the detriment of the individual. So is the balance and the harmony, the justice and the freedom, the prosperity, and the joy for that matter, the joy, right? Citizens to be healthy and heal, not to the detriment of the individual. And we have to admit, myself included, I have a lower self. Sometimes I'm moody and sometimes it's subconscious, right? It's irrational. We have irrational fears, irrational lusts, irrational, whatever the case may be. We have a lot of that. I've explored in the past years my own irrational tendencies, all XYZ. It's hard to admit, if you are to fight with our black brothers and sisters or other indigenous brothers and sisters, to treat them as equal with the best as we can, because we have within our subconscious, we have discrimination and racism. Sometimes we're not perhaps even aware of it, that we have racism, myself included. I could work on it. How am I going to work on it? I can offer my black brothers and sisters what I offer everybody else: hugs, tickles, kisses, and treat them fairly as best as I can. That we have these things, which of course are part of whatever ancestry and whatever in the past and whatever. And sometimes it's need to make a jump to advance, to cross that abyss, if you will, to cross that abyss to love and understanding and channeled by action with the strength, the force, the solar strength, solar force, solar energy is not negative. We can utilize it. We can utilize it. Clean renewable energy just like the water. So the sun and the moon, tomorrow's eclipse is a great omen. And it's North American is going to be the only one in the 21st century that's going to be Canada, Mexico, United States, Canada, Mexico, United States, Mexico, Canada, United States. The three North American, because we are North Americans, we form a collective civilizational complex, right? So, of course, from a more mystical perspective, it's for me, at least for me, for myself, I'm speaking, it's also acknowledging the goddess, the GODDSS, and the priestess of the goddess, and in many ways, the irrational world. It's not rational to be afraid of a tiny spider, but a lot of people are, right? It's not rational to have certain lusts. Take myself. I'm going to give my example because I'm speaking from my perspective. I like BDSM, right? BDSM stands for bondage, domination, sadomasochism. Bondage, domination, sadomasochism. And I'm pansexual, pansexual, pansexual. Right? I remember a story when somebody asked me a few years ago, because it's been years, years, years. I'm in Nome. Somebody asked, "What does that mean that you like to?" I said, "So that's a simple way to put it, but I guess you're right." So all these things. There's a lot of people who are not, who I can say with 100% conviction that just as much as I love hockey, NHL, I can say that in each team there's only one or two people who are part of the LGBTQ man, and not even one. Imagine there's more than what 1,500 NHL players. Let's say 30 times 2, whatever. More than 1,000 players. You telling me that not even one is LGBTQ in the NHL? Not one of them is in the open. Not even one. Not even one. But that's statistically impossible. Out of that 1,000, there's at least, at least, at least 10, minimum 10, maximum 70, right? I understand money, finance, whatever the case may be, pressure, whatever the case may be. But that's a choice, to not be in the open and to hide it and repress it. But if we repress it, then it can make us crooked, sick, ill. We got lusts. Sexuality has to be channeled, sublimated through art, working out, training, exercising in art and creativity, just like aggression has to be. The solar force energy has to be channeled, just like sexuality, just like the moon. Tomorrow is going to be a half the goddess, right? The goddess. We have irrational lusts, irrational fears, consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, love. That's all that's required in my book. Consent, hygiene, mutual love, understanding, love. That's all that's required in my book. Consent, love, mutual understanding, and for me, hygiene. Yeah, I did get dirty, but I get back clean. Especially when I rock and roll, I get dirty, dirty, dirty. I get back clean. I get back clean. I get dirty. Get dirty back again. Today's all I know. Carpe diem. I died during COVID. Nothing that I want to go back to. Being reborn, Adrian Hana, Dragon, androgynous, pansexual, founder of the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. Pontificating a little bit. But I'm a piece of dust. So many things I don't know. Piece of dust. Lusting dust nonetheless. Lusting, a bit lustful, a bit, XYZ, a bit moody. No longer depressed and suicidal. No longer depressed and suicidal. No longer depressed and suicidal, but moody. It takes these energies. It takes the moon. It takes the sun. If we are to heal, to advance, this is a good omen, a good sign to take carpe diem, this opportunity for tomorrow, and then expand it for the next 7 years, and then expand it for the next 7 years, expand it for the next 7 years, for the public-private partnership dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon king, which I'm gonna come in the coming 72 hours with the 7 year call for the public-private partnership, the 7 year call for the public-private partnership as this philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist lives. I live a simple, austere, severe 21st century, highly physically active lifestyle. Highly physically active lifestyle. But I want to see rebuilding of the highways, rebuilding of the roads. I want to see more bridges. I want to see more public transit, new 21st century electric public transit, solar transit, public-private partnership across North America in these next 7 years. I want to see something built nice here in North America. nice intra-rail, Canada, US, Mexico, Canada, coast to coast, United States, coast to coast, Mexico, like a eagle with spread wings in the past 7 years. One of the dreams, to see an see public-private partnership, North American integrated for security, defense, and security. We gotta work with our Mexican brothers and sisters. We gotta work with our Mexican brothers. We gotta work with our Mexican brothers and sisters. Because this omen is for North America and for the world as well, for the world, but mainly and mostly for North America. So spiritually, mystically, we acknowledging the divine feminine, the irrational, right? The irrational and the GODDSS, which I say mystically, dances with her brother the sun to make produce all fruits, vegetables, and legumes, right? The forgotten goddess who dances with her brother the sun, who dances with her brother the sun, who dances with her brother the sun, right? Mystically, because we have these irrational urges and the desire to be loved. So tomorrow is a good omen. It's gonna propel us with new energies, and part of it is acknowledging the divine feminine, also the material matter, not to be evil, negative, or detrimental, but to serve a greater purpose, to serve some joy, and to enjoy also the material, and also the sexuality, the pleasures of the body, the pleasures of the body, the pleasures of the body. So the moon is gonna obscure the sun, but it's not necessarily an obscurity in that manner or a conflict. It's like a harmony. It's a harmony. It's a harmony because the sun still shines. The sun still shines, but this equality, the moon will seem equal to the sun. The moon will seem equal to the sun. And in many ways, that's what it's got to be. Right? The equality of our sisters in many ways. And the advancement, which, it's took a while. It's still taking. Right? XYZ, right? XYZ. So that's part of it. That's part of it. It's to be a complementary to the sun. Complementary in equality, harmony, and balance. The moon to the sun, the divine feminine, right? Liberation, if you want, whatever the case may be. But also, not to be without rules and regulations, to have some principles to govern the environment and nature, the nature and the environment, the harmonious, the nature and the environment, to go hand in hand in a more balanced form, as much as we can, right? In a balanced form, in the new world order, psychological, mystical, spiritual perspective, from all these dimensions, the public and the private, right? So that's a great omen, a great sign from all those perspectives. Psychologically, of course, maybe the integration, both within ourselves, of each, right? To integrate the lunar, irrational, more mystical, more a little bit wild, if you will, side, or the material with the energetic, the solar, and the vibrant life of activity, of action, and of being and of action, to be complementary. Just being, the being as a being in material form, and the action in a more active of the energies of the sun, right? Not to be not in conflict, but in harmonious, complementary, in a cooperative manner, right? To be with that understanding. So understanding and love and matter, accepting the material life, be complemented by taking some action in all our progress in healing, in transforming, and acknowledging that we each, as an individual, as with the collective, play our part. The individual not to be oppressing the collective, and the collective not to be oppressing the individual, and vice versa, right? At least to work in the collective North American civilizational complex, and the private and the public, and the private and the public, and the private and the public, to go hand in hand and work together. To go hand in hand and work together. And that's a great sign and a great omen tomorrow, which is going to appear in the sky, in the natural world, of which we know so little. How much do we really know, right? The sun now rises and now sets. The sun now rises and now sets. The sun now rises and now sets. I say the sun is my pope, my pope, my pope. That's my POPE. Some have the pope at the Vatican, but my pope rises in the east, sets in the west, and they're always red and rising, and orange and green, and gold, gold, gold. And when rising and setting, the sun every second rises and sets somewhere in the world. The sun always rises and always sets somewhere in the world. The sun always rises and always sets somewhere in the world. The sun always rises and always sets. But also the moon really is full. Although the moon has cycles, has first quarter, second half, and then full moon, and then 3/4, and then renews itself. 28 days cycle, right? 28 days cycle. So also the moon and the sun, they go together, right? So is preparing us towards a new adventure, maybe a new beginning, maybe a new beginning. At least I have beginning anew here, you know. And I've been, like I said, depressed, suicidal. I'm still moody sometimes, angry, moody, but less and less and less moody. You know, I'm financially stressed, and you know, I don't want to live with resentment because I had some jobs which I liked during COVID, and you know, my Asperger's during the past years. I understand I'm different, and I repeat things twice, three times, and XYZ. And I do friends with benefits only, and you know, Aspies were a bit on the weird side. You know, we seem like we're not like compassionate, or we're not, you know, emotional maybe, or that we're not. But it's not that. It's that Aspies we like to offer things. You know, like we show our compassion by action. We would offer things. For example, somebody would say, "Ah, my neck's sore." Aspies like myself say, you want me to give you to relieve you, to give you a neck rub or a foot massage, or if we have food, to offer food if you're hungry, or if you something like we offer, you know, things by action to do, rather than some people say, I'm sorry, stuff like that. We don't usually say that, so that makes it, sometimes people think that we're insensitive or lack the compassion, you know, but it's not that. It's that just we offer help if we can, if we're in a position, financially, spiritually, psychologically, or even sexually, whatever the case may be, we will offer. That's just how most Aspies like myself operate, operate and function in the course. So that's perhaps not the norm for the general population, but it is for minorities of Aspies like myself. So from now on, only friends with benefits, and just ask, and pledge your allegiance to our family. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Pledge your allegiance to our families. The rock and roll song. Thank you, farmers, butchers, firefighters. Big love to our firefighters, to our butchers, to our bakers, to our nurses, to our doctors, to our grocery store clerks, to all involved in the production and the distribution of food. Starts with our farmers, food security, truckers on the road now, and those in the public transport. The public transport going for that bus, going east, west, north, south. The nurses, the kindergarten workers, the butchers, the electricians, the plumbers, of course, plumbers, rock and roll, carpenters, rock and roll, building those tables, construction workers, support build the two complementary buildings, the house of the dragon. All I need is an austere pyramid, 3 rooms, a fourth dimension, fourth quarter, maybe a gymnasium in it, but sleeping quarters, bathroom with a bathtub, and of course something to work out in, and of course to get that drill, rock and roll 24/7 with the forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple. If I do want to build something, it is the forgotten goddess temple. So take tomorrow as a good omen for maybe a new beginning and a new light, the light from the sky, the light of the sun, of course, with complementary with the moon, the lunar and the solar influence to be in harmony, in equilibrium, in a balanced, a new equilibrium, a new balance, psychological, spiritual, and even technical, scientific, to integrate the science and the computers. If we could fuse my brain with the supercomputers, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, support across North America, building of centers for citizen integrated surveillance and security and service, surveillance, citizen and security and service across North America, surveillance, citizen and service, which is one of my dreams, to have a different part of the cities where citizens can go and they can just watch screens and see where the truckers, the public transport, and monitor in real life all the activities of civilization. Of course, for citizen security integration, which is one of my theories about citizen security integration, part of the Dragan army, continuing blah 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 blah, to have across North America, and to be for service and security in the 21st century. Part of my philosophy is part of the call to the public-private partnership, Dragan army, because when I say Dragan army, it's fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, right? And I dance, I rock and roll, I work out, I train, I exercise, and grateful, thankful, and meditate. Always thinking now, since I started this video, how many hamburgers were cooked, how many cheeseburgers, fries, bacon, of course, delivered food, and children had joy and laughed, and that's good. And people hugged, that's good. People kissed, that's good. People hold hands, that's good. People did some push-ups, did some exercising, took some sun. People say thank you, and people clean their hands with the public hygiene and doing their part. Somebody, youth, I saw the youth, a lot of youth. You were about to throw that in the garbage and you say, no, this is recycling, so you decided to keep it with you and put it in the recycling. You did your part for Mother Nature, as the individual and the collective. See, you did your part for Mother Nature, I saw you. Instead of putting it in the garbage, you put it in the recycling, you put it in the recycling, you put it in the recycling, instead to be recycled. To be recycled. So instead of putting it in the garbage, You put that can into the recycling from Mother Nature. Salute Adrian, Hannah, Dragan. Who's not perfect? Far from it. I'm a piece of dust. Piece of dust, not perfect. Far from it. Sometimes I'm moody and wish I could get X more Y Z. And yes, I am, of course, dealing with my own, of course, internal struggles, and I'm not perfect, far from it, but I take a carpe diem it every day. So sometimes I'm moody, and yes, I got aggression, but I channel it, and yes, I got a aberrant rock and roll rainbow, to say the least, stormy sometimes sexuality, but I channel it, and I'm pansexual, androgynous, pansexual, gay, pansexual, androgynous, gay, androgynous, pansexual, but I do rap for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, and of course, if I make a million, I'm gonna give half 50% to my anonymous sister friend. A billion, I'm gonna give half to my anonymous sister friend. A trillion, I'm gonna give half to my anonymous sister friend. Anonymous, sometimes good to get that anonymous donation. We're gonna switch to that French because we'll have province a good omen tomorrow across North America from a mystical, spiritual perspective, psychological perspective, and it can even be transcended into the political sphere for the public-private partnership. Either or could represent the public and the private, the moon, the sun, the moon, the sun. Public could be, of course, the moon, private, the sun, and vice versa, and vice versa. The sun can represent the public and the moon the private, and vice versa. The moon the public and the sun the private. The sun the public and the moon the private. Take that into consideration and form a coalition for the 21st century, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the public-private partnership across the collective North American civilization, across the North American civilizational complex, across the collective North American civilization, build more 5Gs, 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 and integrate from the centers, like I said, for, of course, centers for citizen integration, for monetarization, for service and security, and where people can drop off and see if they get housing and how the housing is built, where the housing is built, and where the trains are going east, west, north, south, where of course the trucks are going east, west, north, south, and rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. Mass infrastructure renewal plan, mass infrastructure renewal plan of the North American mass infrastructure renewal plan. We're gonna switch to that French. Grateful, thankful that I rent, paid electricity bills, paid, got food and coffee, and I'm gonna rock and roll it to the drill. Gonna switch to that French a little bit of 10 minutes. Need some coffee, and again, encourage you all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Workout, train, exercise, and I saw you again. Many youth today did the right thing, put it in the recycling and not in the garbage. So you did an X for Mother Nature. Billionaires give to charity, finance, food security, and it starts with the farmers. And encouraging all again to work out, train, exercise, and please, please, please increase in public hygiene. Please, please, please increase in public hygiene. Please increase in that public hygiene. Rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses 24/7. Bienvenue dans la grotte du dragon arc-en-ciel. Je vais commencer par du rock and roll pour les fermiers. Littoral de l'Hydro-Québec, les pompiers, on vous aime, amour, à nos pompiers, amour, à nos travailleurs publics qui vont ramasser les poubelles. Merci et bonjour pour le ramassage des poubelles, du recyclage à toutes les semaines. J'ai 3 services, gros merci, gros rock'n'roll de votre dragon en arc-en-ciel que je vous chante aujourd'hui, le beau soleil pour demain. La lune puis le soleil vont faire une danse en harmonie, puis ça va aller bien. Et je vous encourage tous et toutes à faire l'entraînement physique. L'entraînement physique a été sera ma médecine et thérapie de choix. Ah oui, pompes, des avec consentement, donnez-vous un câlin comme jamais avant été, sera mon message principal de votre dragon arc-en-ciel dans la grotte. Un Aspies avec l'amnésie rétrograde, puis bien sûr philosophe, artiste, qui aime la danse. J'adore la danse, c'est mon sport préféré avec le bus et le rock'n'roll pour les fermiers. Les camionneurs sur la route à travers le collectif de situation nord-américain, à travers l'Amérique du Nord. Et j'ai vu quelqu'un qui vient faire de la bonne chose. Adolescents, des ados qui ont décidé à place de mettre dans les poubelles la canette. Et ont fait le bon choix de mettre dans le recyclage, puis ils vont faire du recyclage fixe. On salue pour la mère nature. Ça prend de l'action de l'individu, puis le collectif, je suis pas parfait, loin de là. Philosophe, artiste et comédien. Dans la grotte du dragon, je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. Puis bien sûr, si vous donnez la charité, si vous avez des millions donnés à la charité pour la sécurité alimentaire, aujourd'hui, c'est 24 heures avant l'éclipse, l'Amérique du Nord, la grande éclipse totale de l'Amérique du Nord. L'Amérique du Nord, la première et unique de l'Amérique du Nord qui va toucher au Mexique, au Canada, puis ici au Québec, la belle province. Ça va être la seule du 21e siècle. Il n'y aura pas d'autre comme ça. Ça va être la seule et unique éclipse. Ça fait que, qu'est-ce qui va se passer? C'est la lune va se mettre devant le soleil, puis il va y avoir une éclipse, la noirceur l'après-midi. Et je prends ça comme un bon signe spirituel, mystique ainsi que social, psychologique aussi. Du point de vue psychologique, social et même mystique, spirituel, mystique, je vois ça pour moi-même et pour les autres, pour les Nord-Américains, parce que fondamentalement, bien sûr, je suis québécois, canadien, Nord-américain, puis bien sûr, j'ai été né dans d'autres vies, dans d'incarnations, mais pas loin d'ici, proche de où je vais voir demain l'Eclipse, en bas de la montagne. J'ai été né dans une autre vie, quand j'ai aidé Louis Cyr à pousser des chevaux sur une calèche. Puis bien sûr, moi, je suis un mystique, guide spirituel universel, qui n'a pas toutes les réponses. J'ai bien des questions moi-même, mais je crois, puis j'ai des expériences de ma réincarnation. J'ai été réincarné dans plusieurs vies antérieures, puis j'étais né plusieurs fois sur l'île de Montréal, la métropole de Montréal aujourd'hui, le 7 avril 2024, en vous encourageant de faire de l'entraînement physique. C'est bon pour la santé mentale. Puis demain, je vais prendre ça pour moi-même et pour les autres. Un bon signe de point de vue qu'on va pouvoir avoir du progrès, puis avoir régler les conflits d'une manière plus pacifique, puis avoir une nouvelle balance, équilibre, d'harmonie pour le public, puis le privé. Puis je vous fais appel, bien sûr, de vous soutenir, quand je fais appel, je fais appel à tous de soutenir mon rêve qui se manifeste comme le rêve du royaume, soit le royaume du dragon et la déesse qui danse. La déesse qui danse et du dragon, c'est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé, un PPP, à travers le collectif de civilisation nord-américain, à travers la belle province, le Québec et le Canada, de côte à côte, l'Amérique du Nord, parce que demain, ça va être un événement unique du 21e siècle. Puis bien sûr, le 21e siècle, moi-même en tant que philosophe, artiste Aspies, ouais, j'ai l'Asperger, je fais partie d'une minorité, hein, j'ai moins d'1%, moins de 0,44% en 2020 qui ont fait les statistiques ont l'Asperger, ça fait que moins de 1 sur 300, moins de 1 sur 300, moins de 1 sur 300 sont des Aspies, ça veut dire que j'ai l'Asperger, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, fait que je vais répéter 2-3 fois la même chose, je vais faire des gestes avec la main, mais il n'y a pas de médicament pour l'Asperger, c'est juste savoir faire la gestion, gérer mes symptômes, que des fois me rapproche trop proche des gens quand je leur parle dans la communication, puis dans le dialogue, puis je suis obsédé par certains sujets, comme moi-même, mes obsessions d'intérêt sont la géopolitique 24/24, le sport, l'entraînement physique, les études de civilisation, puis l'hygiène en public, c'est mes obsessions comme un peu principales, là, avec d'autres, mais c'est fondamentalement, je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, puis je peux faire des analyses profondes en détail des événements géopolitiques, puis même je peux dire que j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant dans le monde, je l'avais prévu en 2019, quand j'ai fait une analyse profonde en géopolitique, mais demain, un événement qui peut être, qui je prends ça, moi, cet événement-là, céleste, un événement céleste dans le ciel, qui va être unique au 21e siècle, ça va être une éclipse nord-américaine, c'est pour ça qu'on appelle ça la grande éclipse de l'Amérique du Nord, la grande éclipse de l'Amérique du Nord, la grande éclipse de l'Amérique du Nord, puis bien sûr, un événement qui va être propulsé, que je prends ça comme un bon signe pour nous, pour les Québécois canadiens, pour l'Amérique du Nord. Puis, je suis aussi pour la paix mondiale, je suis universel, un citoyen du monde, mais fondamentalement, je suis un philosophe, artiste et athlète, aspiré avec amnésie rare, amnésie rétrograde, puis bien sûr, qui a l'Asperger, puis qui est bon dans la comédie aussi, avec du rock-and-roll, je prends ça comme un bon signe qui est céleste, qui va se manifester pour nous autres, pour une renaissance peut-être, puis pour d'autres énergies, valeurs psychologiques, spirituelles intégrées avec l'individu puis le collectif, parce que ça prend l'individu, puis ça prend le collectif, puis ça prend l'individu, puis ça prend le collectif, puis ça prend l'individu, puis ça prend le collectif pour savoir une danse ensemble, pour faire un jeu de la danse ensemble en harmonie puis en équilibre, puis bien sûr en équilibre, harmonie, puis bien sûr social, économique, ou bien sûr spirituel aussi, du point de vue de l'avancement, la progression de l'individu uni avec le collectif, puis que l'individu ne soit pas, les actions individuelles en tant que citoyen individuel ne soient pas du détriment, que ça fasse mal au collectif, et vice-versa aussi. Que le collectif ne prenne pas les actions qui font mal à l'individu. Donc, je fais une harmonie puis un équilibre, parce que ça va être l'enjeu du 21e siècle pour le monde, l'Amérique du Nord, parce que le 20e siècle, ça a été toujours quand même des extrêmes qui ont eu le pouvoir. Hein. La droite, la gauche, la droite, plus les extrêmes qui ont eu le jeu du 21e siècle. La guerre froide, c'était quand même un signe de ça. Puis, bien sûr, les mouvements et les idéologies qui ont été faites sont au détriment d'un de l'autre. L'individu, le collectif. C'est toujours une approche psychologique, philosophique, pour avoir une harmonie, un équilibre et un balance. Ma sécurité, ma liberté en tant qu'individu, bien sûr, si je sors dehors, je suis plus juste un citoyen privé, maintenant je avec le public, mais j'ai d'autres responsabilités, obligations qui ne sont pas les mêmes que maintenant dans ma grotte de dragon arc-en-ciel. J'ai pas les mêmes obligations, j'ai pas les mêmes devoirs que quand je sors dehors. Tu sais, puis des fois, c'est des choses qu'on fait, qu'on sait même pas que ça peut nuire aux autres. Fait que c'est toujours avoir une conscience, puis prendre conscience, c'est les paroles qu'on dit, puis les envers, dans ce sujet avec les autres, c'est toujours prendre conscience, puis faire la méditation, mais c'est toujours une balance. Puis ici au Québec, en Amérique du Nord, maintenant je vous parle en français, puis en tant que philosophe, je dis toujours, c'est le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord qu'on a fait de là bien longtemps, on continue à le faire. Des fois, il y a des tensions, puis c'est quoi la meilleure façon de le faire? Par des lois, par la législature ou par l'encouragement. Moi, je vous encourage à faire un effort, bien sûr, en français puis en anglais, parce que comme mon premier ministre, avec lequel des fois je suis 50 pour 50-50, 70-70, 90, ça dépend. Je suis un centriste quand même, philosophe. Un centriste. Révolutionnaire, universel, centriste, parce que j'y crois que le 21e siècle, puis au moins pour le collectif de civilisation nord-américain, parce qu'on est Québécois, Canadiens, Nord-Américains, on est des Nord-Américains, on fait du Nouveau Monde, puis on forme ensemble avec le Mexique, puis les États-Unis, puis les Canadiens, les Québécois, on forme un collectif de civilisation nord-américain, dont on en fait le grand compromis linguistique pour le français. Puis on fait des efforts, soit culturels, soit par la culture. Moi, c'est principalement par la poésie, le rock and roll, puis la culture, la comédie aussi. Pour les idées de cinéma, venez me voir. Pour les affaires, venez me voir. Pour les autres choses, mais je sais pas. Pour la géopolitique, 100%, je suis un analyste en géopolitique indépendant. Puis même, j'avais prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. Mais l'éclipse, je prends ça comme un bon signe du point de vue mystique, spirituel, psychologique aussi, puis l'avancement. Tu parles de soit pour soutenir mon rêve, pour le soutien de mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, le royaume du dragon et la déesse qui danse et vice-versa, qui est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé à travers le collectif d'associations nord-américaines de côte à côte. Puis je vous fais appel au travail en construction, que je salue les travailleurs en construction, amour pour les travailleurs en construction, je suis un partisan aussi, quand je les vois sur la grue en train de faire des bâtiments, puis des gratte-ciels, puis des choses ça, je suis toujours en admiration, puis les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec, puis les fermiers dans les champs, puis bien sûr les agriculteurs dans les fermes, que ce soit des patates ou la production laitière des fermes, puis bien sûr des fermes, la terre noire, ou bien sûr les impositions des satellites, puis la haute technologie de 3G, 4G, 5G, puis les téléphones intelligents, puis tout ça, qu'il faut qu'on soit en balance, en harmonie, la nature et la civilisation. Puis, alors que la civilisation, mes chers, c'est un privilège. Hein? C'est la thèse que je vous ai présentée au début de 2023 en tant que le docteur du peuple, le privilège de la civilisation, le privilège de la civilisation, parce que la civilisation, c'est un privilège. Comme l'Hydro-Québec, je dois saluer les travailleurs du passé, puis d'aujourd'hui, puis pour demain. Parce que fondamentalement, je vis pour aujourd'hui, avec l'espoir pour demain. Je dis souvent, je suis mort de la COVID, puis bien sûr, je l'ai eu la COVID en 2000. Ça fait déjà 4 ans, wow, ça fait déjà 4 ans. En 2020, février-mars, j'étais vraiment malade. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, puis la maladie. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, puis la maladie pour moi-même. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, puis la maladie. Fait que je suis en train de renaître. Fait que demain, ce signe-là, ça a été comme une nouvelle lumière spirituelle, mystique, puis même incluant la technologie qu'on a avancé de la point de vue de la technologie, de la spiritualité, puis la nature de la civilisation, ça peut danser ensemble. C'est une danse en équilibre et en harmonie. La lune, ça peut symboliser l'inconscient, le subconscient, la matière aussi, parce que ça en prend. Le subconscient, on en a aussi. C'est pas toutes des affaires qui sont rationnelles du point de vue. On ne peut pas se baser tout sur le 2 plus 2 égale 4. Oui, mais on peut l'écrire en arc-en-ciel. Le 2, on peut l'écrire en rouge, le plus en noir et blanc. Le 2 sont écrit en vert ou en rouge, puis le signe égal, on peut mettre en orange puis rose, puis le 4, on peut mettre 3 lignes bleu, blanche, puis bien sûr d'une autre couleur. Fait que ça, on peut incorporer dans cette équation-là les couleurs de l'arc-en-ciel avec le noir puis le blanc. T'sais? Le gris aussi, parce que c'est sûr qu'il faut faire l'individu puis le collectif. C'est toujours une chose à atteindre. C'est pas toujours facile. Moi-même, avec ma nature, moi-même, j'admets, j'ai l'agression moi aussi. Mais mes chers concitoyens, citoyennes, je m'entraîne, je fais de l'exercice physique, je fais des pompes, je m'en vais à la montagne, je fais de la marche, ou je fais beaucoup de bénévolat pour la nature à la montagne, je ramasse des canettes, du plastique, du recyclage, j'en ramasse, je mets dans la vidange. La nature, c'est une place pour préservation. Il faut faire pour l'environnement, il faut faire de l'action individuelle pour le collectif. Puis le collectif, on a des programmes collectifs, le recyclage, je dois saluer ceux qui vont ramasser le recyclage dans la machine, ça prend des cerveaux puis des muscles. Ils vont mettre dans la machine, ils vont mettre dans la machine, puis merci, bonjour. Puis le compostage aussi, c'est bon pour l'environnement. Puis j'avais travaillé là un couple d'années sur le compostage, bien sûr. Puis moi-même, en ayant travaillé sur le compostage, j'ai fait j'ai pas eu du renouveau, hein, du renouveau du compostage, mais bien sûr, de mon contrat a fini après un couple de mois, mais bien sûr, j'ai de la gratitude que j'ai eu cette expérience-là, puis les expériences de travail durant la COVID que j'ai bien aimé, mais vous savez, les Aspies comme moi-même qui ont l'Asperger's, des fois, on a cette difficulté avec l'emploi jusqu'à quand on travaille dans les choses qu'on aime vraiment, là, que c'est comme, moi, c'est la géopolitique, ouais, puis le sport, l'entraînement physique, puis bien sûr, j'étais en dépression puis suicidaire, puis l'événement qui m'a fait sortir de la dépression et être suicidaire, c'est quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte en 2017. Premièrement, je suis allé à Vancouver, en Colombie-Britannique, en 2017 en août. Par bus, ça a pris 3 jours et demi. Puis après ça, je suis allé jusqu'à l'Est. Je suis de retour à Montréal, puis j'ai pris le train de 25 heures. Ça a pris 25 heures et 44 minutes. 25 heures et 44 minutes. Exactement 25 heures et 44 minutes parce que j'ai le billet. C'était en 2017, en septembre. Puis cet événement-là, en 2017, où j'étais allé à l'ouest, en Colombie-Britannique, à Vancouver, puis après ça, j'étais allé à Halifax, en Nouvelle-Écosse. Puis, cet événement-là, ça m'a fait sortir de la dépression et de suicide. Puis, j'ai dit tellement de choses à voir, à faire ici au Québec, à travers le Canada, à travers l'Amérique du Nord. Puis, je dis, bah, je suis sorti de la dépression, j'ai commencé à m'entraîner, j'ai perdu plus que 77 livres, j'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique. J'ai écrit bien des chansons rock-and-roll, des idées de films, du dialogue. J'ai fait le travail en tant qu'artiste, athlète, philosophe indépendant. Un septième comédien, je suis bon en certaines choses. Dans certaines choses, j'admets moi-même, je suis médiocre, comme ci, comme ça, puis pas bon. Mais en étant pas bon, médiocre, comme ci, comme ça, dans d'autres choses, je suis excellent, super et très bon dans d'autres choses. La comédie, l'entraînement physique, je marche, je peux en marcher pour plus de les bottes. J'ai le rôle longtemps, mais bien sûr, je fais appel à tous et toutes à soutenir mon rêve, le partenaire public-privé de l'ADS et des dragons qui dansent et vice-versa. Donc, demain, un gros signe, ça peut être pour une. C'est un bon signe demain, je trouve. Il y en a qui disent, ah, catastrophe, que ce soit ici, puis ça, mais moi, je vois ça comme un très bon signe. Comme un très bon signe, comme un très bon signe. Ça va incorporer les énergies de la Lune puis du Soleil en harmonie puis en balance. Puis une nouvelle énergie psychologique aussi, c'est guérir puis avancer aussi. Prendre, estime que oui, on a de la chair, puis le corps, c'est important, puis la matière, c'est important, puis le subconscient, c'est aussi important. On ne peut pas se baser tout sur la mathématique, sur le rationnel. Il faut avoir un côté spirituel ou sinon psychologique. Psychologique, tu sais, des choses, des fois on est mouvementé par certaines choses, qu'on voit des actions, puis on ressent certaines choses. Puis avoir l'harmonie, la balance, puis l'équilibre, ça prend toujours un constant. Moi-même, des fois, il faut faire des compromis, ma nature individuelle avec l'agression. Oui, j'en ai l'agression, j'en ai moi-même, mais cher. Votre dragon arc-en-ciel fait l'entraînement physique, je fais des pompes, je m'entraîne pour faire la sublimation, pour sublimer l'agression, sublimer la sécurité. C'est toutes des choses qu'il faut qu'on fasse au quotidien. Parce que si on réprime, on peut être malade, surtout la sexualité, comme j'ai dit tantôt en anglais, mais moi-même, en étant pansexuel androgène qui aime ça, le sadomasochisme dans ma vie privée, là, avec consentement puis hygiène, l'hygiène puis le consentement en accord puis en harmonie, puis avec l'amour puis la compréhension. Moi, je suis gay pansexuel androgène, je suis pansexuel androgène gay pansexuel androgène, on considère 50-50, des fois plus que l'autre, mais blablabla, bla, 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 mais bien sûr, ça prend des efforts, puis j'ai l'agression moi aussi, mais je m'entraîne. Je fais l'entraînement physique pour ne pas faire mal à un concitoyen. Puis je fais des compromis, je fais des fois ma nature, avoir l'Asperger's, des fois je suis intense, surtout quand je discute de la géopolitique, quand je fais l'entraînement physique, puis quand j'analyse les civilisations, parce que ça, c'est mes obsessions. Les Aspies, nous autres, on a des obsessions, puis ça, c'est les miennes. Les études en géopolitique, puis je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, bien sûr aussi un penseur, un philosophe, que quand je parle de la géopolitique, c'est vraiment intense, puis je discute, puis j'analyse profondément, puis j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe aujourd'hui dans le monde. Mais demain, ça va être un bon signe. Pour moi-même, pour vous, pour nous en Amérique du Nord, de côte à côte. Puis je peux être universel pour la paix mondiale, mais fondamentalement, je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. J'étais né plusieurs fois sur l'île de Montréal après que Jean Mance est venu en 1635. J'ai aidé Louis VI à pousser des chevaux sur une calèche en 1904. J'ai été né au Mexique, aux États-Unis. J'ai servi 2 fois dans l'armée américaine après 1776. Puis demain, ce signe Le 8 avril, aujourd'hui on est le 7, c'est peut-être un bon signe, je prends ça comme un bon signe du côté mystique, spirituel, et bien sûr psychologique pour la renaissance, la mienne, la vôtre, la nôtre, le collectif des nord-américains, les non-américains, qu'on s'unisse. C'est peut-être, c'est la seule éclipse qui va être visible pour l'Amérique du Nord. La seule éclipse visible en Amérique du Nord. Pour prendre un changement, incorporer la libération avec le compromis pour la civilisation, parce que la civilisation, c'est un privilège. L'individu puis le collectif. La déesse, déesse, qui danse avec son frère le soleil, la spiritualité du féminin, de l'inconscient, du mystique, la matière, avec l'énergie solaire. L'énergie solaire, puis aussi, bien sûr, l'eau, bien sûr, puis aussi la matière, l'énergie, les forces féminines, puis masculines, pour que ça fasse un autre compromis pour le 21e siècle, pour qu'on se propage vers une paix avec de l'action aussi, une paix avec de l'énergie, une paix avec des activités, pour le plaisir, puis pour la nature, puis pour la civilisation. Merci, thank you.